Come to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mandy, could you please call the roll?
Dion.
Here.
Raymer. Here. Butler.
Here.
Hopkins.
Here.
Van Stryland.
Here.
And Carlstone will be joining via phone at some point.
Okay. Just a quick reminder tonight, we record this meeting for Pella TV and broadcast it there. So if anybody out there wants to speak, please come to the microphone and speak there before you get started, because otherwise it doesn't pick it up very well if you sit out there. So I'll try to be diligent about reminding you, but if you do want to speak, make sure you get up here and get in the mic so that everybody that's watching and listening can hear it. So thank you for that. Can I get a motion for approval of the tentative agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Branderhorst, DeYoung, any discussion? All in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Raymer.
Yes.
Dion.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Stryland.
Yes.
Motion passed. I wanted to take a couple minutes tonight. Our police department received a pretty outstanding award, or achieved something here that I want to recognize tonight. So I've asked Chief McShee to come and explain it, and then there's a nice plaque they've received that'll hang in the station after that. But the Chief is going to explain it, what it is. It's pretty prestigious. So thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is Shane McShee. I'm your Chief of Police. We really have the brightest and the best at our agency, and it's not something to take for granted. And that means much more than just our officers. We have civilian staff, we have our communications personnel. And when I first got here about 4 years ago, national accreditation was something that Mike and I talked about. And I got to give a lot of credit to Captain Paul Hazy, because right before I promoted him to captain, I asked him, I said, "What do you know about police accreditation?" He says, "Not much." I said, "You're perfect for the job." But he knew what he was getting into. And he'll tell you at times it's like herding cats. And I agree, because I was him several years ago when I brought accreditation to an agency as well. But it is no doubt a group effort. It is best practices. It is developing policies and practices and culture and even physical requirements of the agency that make you professional. It makes you legally defendable. And it, more importantly, or probably most importantly, it has to align with community values. And every community is different, and I will tell you, Pella is no exception. I love it here. So this group effort is a culmination of 3 years, but what a lot of people don't understand is this is a forever deal now. We don't just get the award and stop. We keep moving forward. We keep making sure through audits and through practices, and those are evaluated yearly, and then in another 4 years, we have to go through another accreditation cycle. So we really can't stop much to take a breath, but we appreciate the support, and we get it every day. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you for your support. Council, you guys have been incredible. My boss as well, super supportive. But most importantly, I'd like to thank the men and women who work for your police department, because they are doing the job, and they are outstanding.
Thank you for those words, and I'm sure we can all agree that what he said about the staff and everything is 100% true. We talk a lot about our staff and the people that work for the City of Pella. And so this nice little plaque is going to hang in the police station, and so if you're ever in there and you see that and you read it, thanks to what his explanation, now you know exactly what it means. So I'm incredibly proud of our police department, and the work that it took to get this done is pretty phenomenal. So congratulations to all of the people that work in the department, and we have some great leadership here with these two men here. So thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
At this time, we have opportunity for a public forum. Anyone wishing to address council regarding any agenda item, please step forward to the microphone, state your name and address, and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Fred Craig, it's 8 Deer Run Drive, Pella. One agenda item, let me see if I can find it here. Sorry, just walked in. Agenda item G3 has to do with Bruce's project. Bruce here tonight? Oh, he isn't. I'm here on behalf of Dr. Kendon White. I think the last time you guys met, you discussed this same agenda item. Dr. Ken had submitted a letter. He didn't think he needed me to be involved, but he didn't get the answers that he was looking for. Specifically, there's some question in the zoning ordinance, some terminology that's not defined. And those of you who still have his letter, I would encourage you to look at it, because there's some terminology that we don't quite know how to understand. He asked me back in September what these terms meant, and I submitted a question to city staff, and I received a response saying, well, there are no definitions to some of these terms. Here were my questions back on September 6th. I submitted these to Mr. Parker. He was doing a good job. I'm not picking on him. He was my contact person. He said, we have a few more questions regarding definitions of terms that are found in 165.11 classification of uses. Number 1, under subsection 3, civic use types, section R, maintenance facilities refers to, quote, sewer yards. Second item is under civic use type, section X. Utilities can include above ground structures or facilities for sewage. And the third item I asked him about was under item 6, or subsection 6, industrial use types, section C. Light industry includes, quote, dressed beef processing plants. And I asked him if there were definitions for these terms, and Mr. Parker responded, there are no definitions in our zoning code. So we're concerned. Dr. Ken lives across the street from this project. As you well know, he's lived there for over 50 years. He submitted a polite letter before your last meeting. He asked for some help with definitions. I don't think he's ever received a response. We're not trying to stop the approval of this ordinance or the zoning that's in place, but we're asking that the city, specifically the city council, provide definitions for these terms so that going forward, people who buy these lots and the neighborhood will know what is permitted in that development and what will not be permitted. So I think there's some work that needs to be done there insofar as we don't have definitions of some of these terms. So we're just respectfully asking that the city explore that for us and provide definitions for us. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Support. Branderhorst Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Branderhorst?
Yes.
Hopkins?
Yes.
Dan Stryland?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Butler?
Yes.
Carlstone?
Yes.
Motion passed. Move into a public hearing regarding Kiwanis Park Phase 3 site improvement project bids. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to explain this item. For those watching at home and those in attendance, I'd like to direct your attention to the big board for a brief presentation on this item. As Mayor of the board stated, this resolution approves the plans, specifications, form a contract, accepts bids, and awards the Kiwanis Park Phase 3 contract as well. And what the project includes is we do have a description up here under the second bullet point as well with it. Now, the big takeaway from the city standpoint, we also have diagrams of the new play equipment that's being proposed as well. Now, as far as the city's financial contribution for the project, the city will contribute $150,000 under the terms of our agreement with the Kiwanis Park, or the Wonderspielen Group on this project. And Wonderspielen is Now, as far as the three bids that were concerned for the that were received for the project, the low bidder was Caliber Concrete in the amount of $221,326.25. The engineer on the project, which is Snyder & Associates, is recommending approval with the lowest responsible bidder, which is Caliber Concrete in the amount of $221,326.25. Council were to proceed with this contract. Final completion is expected by June 30th of next year. So with that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes staff's presentation. Be more than happy to answer any questions the council may have on this item.
All right, thank you, Mike. Mandy, any written comments?
No written comments.
Council, comments, questions? Okay, any member of the audience have a comment about this item? All right, then I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Branderhorst Hopkins, any discussion? All in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Branderhorst.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlson.
yes,
Motion passed. Now we move on to the resolution number 6753, entitled Resolution Approving Plan Specifications, Form of Contract, Estimate of Cost, receiving of bids and making award of contract for the Kiwanis Park Phase 3 Site Improvements Project. Sure there's nothing to add, so can I get a motion for approval?
Support.
Hopkins, DeYoung, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Hopkins.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Branderhorst.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlson.
yes,
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on, resolution number 6754, entitled Resolution Approving Amended Ambulance Service Fees. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this item is more of a housekeeping item. As the council is aware, we've approved the ambulance class for new EMTs that we're currently offering as well. What this resolution just does is formally adopts the fee schedule for it. And what we have is the fees range from $1,400 per student for an EMT all the way up to $2,000 per student per class as well. Now, these fees are intended to cover class materials, labor, as well as provide a small profit for their ambulance department on this. City administration is recommending approving in fee payment method. Is there any additional details to fill in, council, on this item?
No, our first class was last night. We actually had 13 students, so we've got a pretty big class right off the bat.
Very nice. Are you done?
Yes, sir.
All right. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support.
Branderhorst, DeYoung, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Branderhorst.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlson.
yes,
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to resolution number 6755, entitled Resolution Approving the Partnership Agreement between the City of Pella and Central College for shared use of tennis pickleball courts. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to explain this item. As Mayor DeWart stated, we're entertaining a partnership agreement with this resolution with Central College. It is for the upgrade of their tennis courts that's currently taking place. Now, there's 6 tennis courts on the site. Once the renovation is completed by Central College, we'll have 6 tennis courts, but they're also going to be painted for pickleball court use, and believe that it'll be possible to have 12 pickleball courts on these courts as well. Now, under the terms of the agreement, the city will pay a one-time fee once construction is complete of $300,000, which I believe we've targeted either a general obligation bond issue, or if we have additional funds left over from our local option sales and services tax, that may be a potential source as well. But what was previously discussed in council was the general obligation bond use. Now, it is important to note that Central is responsible for the maintenance, repairs, and improvements, as well as scheduling of the courts as well for the public. And the courts are available for public use at reasonable times. So generally speaking, when the Central College teams are not having the use of the courts, they'll be available for the public use as well. And I believe that concludes city staff's presentation. Mr. Mayor, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions the council may have on this item.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support. And Strylen, Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Branderhorst.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlson.
yes,
Motion passed. Moving on, resolution number 6756, 5.6, entitled Resolution Approving an Agreement with Confluence to update the City of Pella Comprehensive Plan, Zoning Code, and Subdivision Ordinance. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to explain this item. As Mayor DeWard stated, what this proposed contract is an agreement with Confluence to update the city's comprehensive plan, zoning code, and subdivision code. Now, considering this matter, it's important to note and realize that when we talk about the update of the comprehensive plan, this is the community's master plan that we have, and also under Iowa law, any zoning codes that the community adopts need to be in accordance with the comprehensive plan. So as you recall, for those of you that follow city government, how many rezonings the city has, every rezoning we always reference back to the comprehensive plan. So it's a very important document from a planning perspective. Generally, the planning document will encompass a year, the year is about 20 years, but it's common for communities such as Pella that experience growth, particularly the residential growth that we have in development, that you'd want to update your comprehensive plan about every 7 to 10 years. The last time we updated the plan was 2014. Now, as far as the plan update itself, it'll take approximately 15 months. There'll be a series of public input meetings that will be a part of the comprehensive plan update as well. As far as the total fees, that is the fees of $175,000 for the comprehensive plan update. In addition, it's equally important to note is also updates to the city zoning code and subdivision code. So if you wanted to look at it succinctly, it's important that there's uniformity and conformance and alignment with the comprehensive plan, zoning code, and subdivision code. Not only just a good idea, it's a requirement that those three align too. So those other two code updates with the zoning code and subdivision codes, they're very important as well. Those items and the updates will take place once the comprehensive plan is updated, which the consultant in their schedule, the tentative completion date that we have for the comprehensive plan update is 15 months. So in summary, Mr. Mayor, it is important to note that the council representation on this that actually interviewed the consultants was Dr. Spencer Carlstone as well, and it is the city staff and city administration's recommendation that we proceed with this contract that we're considering this evening.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support. Randhorst Hopkins, any discussion? So it was 2014 the last time?
Yes, sir.
Have any idea what it cost then?
Last time that we did this, and Mayor, I could give an educated guess, but the cost have gone up significantly. I wanted to say last time it was probably under 90,000, but last time it's also important to note that we did not update the zoning code or subdivision code, so there's additional services that are part of the plan.
Okay, thanks. All right, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Randall.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on, resolution number 6757, entitled Resolution Approving an Agreement with Confluence to develop the City of Pella signage master plan. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. As Mayor DeWard stated, what this resolution is a proposed contract of Confluence for the development of a signage master plan. So this is commonly referred to as a wayfinding signage program for sites that would be located within the city's right-of-way on it as well. Now, as far as the scope of services, we do have it listed up on the big board. Proposed fees for this engagement is $48,000. And we anticipate that this plan update would be done in conjunction with the city's comprehensive plan update. Now, if this is approved this evening, the final plan for the signage update is expected to be completed by August of 2025. Now, overall, with the wayfinding signage program, from my perspective, it's very important that it is done in accordance and also simultaneously with the city's comprehensive plan update. But I would also state too, one of the most important things that we could take that would make this plan achievable is determining upfront who is eligible to be on the signs, because that's always been one of the issues with it. And I would like to say, and that's not necessarily a bad thing in the community, because there's a lot of vested interest and a lot of parties that are interested in being on the signs. So, but that'll be one of the scope of services that the consultant will handle, and it'll be one of the more challenging aspects of this proposed contract. But overall, Mr. Mayor, we are recommending approval of the contract this evening for the update of the city's wayfinding program.
All right, thank you, Mike. Can I get a motion for approval?
Support.
DeYoung, Branderhorst, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Randall.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to resolution number 6758, entitled Resolution Determining the Necessity and Setting Dates of a Consultation and Public Hearing on a Proposed Prairie Ridge West Urban Renewal Plan for a proposed urban renewal area in the City of Pella, State of Iowa. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we'll try to be brief with this item, but in essence, what we're talking about this evening, and really the formal approval this evening, is two things. Establishes a public hearing on November 5th for the establishment of the Prairie Ridge West Urban Renewal Plan. The second item, it authorizes the schedule. Both of them are equally important to consider, but overall, with this plan, this is a proposed urban renewal district for new housing, residential housing subdivision in our community. What's being proposed is continuation of the current Prairie Ridge development. Just to orientate everyone, Highway G28 is located right down here. What we have is Highway T15 here. The developer is proposing to extend Highway T15 up through here. And eventually this would connect over to West 16th Street, and that's a future phase of the development. But overall, there's 90 residential lots that are being proposed. And as we've discussed before, an economic development on it, one of the most expensive aspects of developing a greenfield site such as this is the public infrastructure cost associated with it. In this proposed development, the public infrastructure cost is roughly $4.5 million. In order to award economic development incentives to help the developer out or reimburse the developer for the cost of the public infrastructure, which will be dedicated to the City of Pella, we need to establish an urban renewal plan, and that's what the first step in this process is what we're considering this evening, which is establishing November 5th for the proposed urban renewal plan, and then also establishing the schedule for the plan as well. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I believe that concludes city staff's presentation. We're more than happy to answer any questions the council may have on this item.
All right, thank you, Mike. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support.
Randall and Stryland. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Andy, please call the roll.
Reindeerhorst.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on, resolution number 6759, entitled Resolution Fixing Date for a Public Hearing on the Proposal to Enter into a Development Agreement with PR Dev 2 LLC and providing for publication of notice thereof. Mike?
Very, very closely aligned action with what we previously considered. Before economic development incentives can be considered, you need to be able to form an urban renewal plan, which could form the city's comprehensive plan. What this proposed development agreement is to reimburse the developer for the cost of public infrastructure for the proposed development. With this, the developer is proposing 90 residential lots. The estimated cost of the public infrastructure is $4.5 million. And really, when we talk about economic development for residential developments, what we're proposing to do is capture the incremental property taxes that will be added on from this development. So in other words, when the new homes are built, we're going to capture the incremental value or the property taxes generated for those new homes. And what the plan would be is to rebate about half of those property taxes back over the next 15 years. If the development builds out, the developer will be reimbursed $4.5 million. You know, if they are reimbursed $4.5 million, we're going to have to set aside about $1.3 million in addition to those funds for low and moderate income housing funds within the City of Pella. So it has a dual purpose with it, and that's in addition to the $4.5 million. But with this, what we're simply doing is establishing November 5th as the public hearing date for this proposed development agreement. There will be considerably more details shared on November 5th, Mr. Mayor. So we are recommending approval of this resolution this evening.
All right, thank you, Mike. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support.
Hopkins, Branderhorst, any discussion? All in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Reindeerhorst.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to ordinance number 1043, entitled an ordinance providing that general property tax is levied and collected each year on certain property located within the Epcon residential urban renewal area in the City of Pella, County of Marion, State of Iowa, by and for the benefit of the State of Iowa, City of Pella, County of Marion, Pella Community School District, and other taxing districts be paid to a special fund for payment of principal and interest on loans, monies advanced to, and indebtedness including bonds issued or to be issued incurred by the city in connection with the Epcon Residential Urban Renewal Area Phase 1 property, and this is the third reading. Anything to add? Or you wanna?
That was quite an explanation, or lead in on it, Mr. Mayor. What we're simply doing is very similar on development agreements. This is the ordinance that allows us to capture the valuation and ultimately the property taxes for the new homes that are going to be built on the Epcon development. Once we're able to capture that, we'll actually be able to disperse the LMI, which would be the LMI component of the development for the city operations. The developer will be reimbursed the non-LMI portion of this for reimbursement of the public infrastructure. And if memory serves me correct, that's roughly about $2.5 million for this, or $2 million for this phase of the development. So this is just the formal ordinance that allows us to capture the incremental property valuations for the new homes that will be built on this site, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Can I get a motion for approval? And please don't ask me to reread the motion.
So moved. Support.
Was that Hopkins?
Yeah.
DeYoung? Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Hopkins.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Reindeerhorst.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Motion passed. Now I need a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Move to adopt.
Support.
Branderhorst, DeYoung, any discussion? All in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Reindeerhorst.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone. Carlstone.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to ordinance number 1048, entitled an ordinance amending Molengrot parking rates in the city of Pella, Iowa. This is the third reading. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and as Mayor Ward stated, what this proposed ordinance would do is amend the city's parking garage rates that currently sits at a parking garage under the Molengrot. Currently, the garage has 86 spaces that we have, and what's being proposed with this ordinance is increasing from the current run rate of $50 a month to $60.50 that would be effective on January 1st of 2025. The rate then would increase to $85 per month effective on July 1st of 2025. And the city staff is recommending approval this evening, Mr. Mayor.
All right, can I have a motion for approval?
Support.
Hopkins, Branderhorst, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Reindeerhorst.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Motion passed. Can I get a motion for approval to adopt the
Move
ordinance?
to adopt.
Branderhorst, Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Reindeerhorst.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to ordinance number 1049, entitled an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Pella, Iowa by conditionally amending the boundaries of the M1 district to include the property generally located along 218th Place and directing the planning and zoning director to note the ordinance number and date of this change on official zoning map, and this is the second reading. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to explain this item. Mr. Bruce Skibout has applied or is proposing an amendment to his previously approved conditional zoning ordinance that he has for a 10-acre parcel that currently sits along 218th Place. Now, if approved, the following design standards would apply. For the lots that are closest to, I would say, Washington Street with this development, which is located right over here at the map, would be extended. Those lots 1 and 2 would need to comply with the city's design standards. Lots 3, 4, and 5 would be continuation of the current design standards for the development as well. So with this, that's just a minor change on what we have, and it's really a lot orientation layout that we have. It is important to note that the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously approved this ordinance. And what I would also ask is if Jerry, if you'd be able to respond to the questions that we received earlier on this, and then also I have an item that will pull up as well. So go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Mr. Krakis referred to, I'll just go down the list, maintenance facilities. If you read the context of the sentence, and I'll preface this with saying this document I'm reading from was done in 1976. So some of the words in here don't have the meaning they had back then that they do today, so we can't really move it forward. But if you read the context, it says similar activities including street or sewer yards. To me, and I have Denny behind me, if I say a street yard, I'm basically referring to public works. So a public works facility or a sewer plant. So they would have pipe, manhole covers, things like that. That would be my interpretation as a zoning administrator of what a sewer yard would be. Going down next, utilities. And it basically says anything used for production, generation, transmission, delivery, collection of storage of water, sewage, electricity, gas. It's basically a sewer line. Denny has a sewer system, he can run the sewer line through the yard. We have wastewater pumping stations or sewer line pumping stations, that could be in this area. It's not what we would define as a sewer treatment plant, but it would be ancillary services or structures for the transportation of sewage to our plant. So a pump station like we have in Prairie Ridge, or something like that. Jumping to the next, we have very good veterinary services. I think the last one was dressed beef processing. If you Google dressed beef, that is a slab of beef, half a beef, that has already been eviscerated and dressed in the field, and it's now gone to a processing facility to be cut up into T-bones and whatever else may be. So it could be a butcher shop, it could be a place that where you drop off half a beef, you turn around, package it, and bring it back to you. Supermarket has some dressed beef processing facilities in them. Hy-Vee, Fairway have that in their butcher shop. So that's kind of what I would interpret this to mean. I think I covered them all.
Jeremy, I do have one question for you. Of those definitions that you referenced, would any of them be allowed on this property since it is conditional rezoning? And it's my understanding what's allowed on this property for Mr. Skibout is Exhibit B, the uses that are identified in Exhibit B.
That is correct, and we would definitely go over the uses in Exhibit B, as that's the defining criteria for this. So,
Mandy, maybe if we could show Exhibit, I know I'm putting you on the spot, or if we don't have any ability, but with reference to the exhibits, I think that's the important thing, is when we additionally had this rezoning, this property, when we rezoned it, we did a conditional rezoning, and we spent a lot of time looking at land use compatibility issues on it. So if you review Exhibit B in your packet, it's fairly limited on what could actually be built. The zoning definitions are broad-based, but the actual allowed activities are in Exhibit B. So that would be one of the questions to address Mr. Crackus' concerns, whether any of those would actually be allowed on this parcel or not.
That is correct, and no, they would not unless they're on that list.
Can I respond?
Just a second. Was that all you?
That was just my question. It wasn't meant to challenge anyone's assumption. It was just I wanted to say.
Here, Mandy, I found it. Okay, so just a minute, before we move on, let's get a motion for approval.
So moved.
Okay, we're in, of course, now we're in the discussion phase, so, now the questions, Mr. Craig has brought up for, his client, had asked for some kind of written response. The indication was maybe he didn't get the written response he was looking for. Where are we at on that?
Well, he's absolutely correct in that these definitions, as written in 1976, don't have underlying explanations for them. So we can't provide an explanation of a definition that was not done in the code. That is one of the reasons why we're updating zoning code, is to correct issues like this. But you have to remember, there are definitions of the zoning code that's used to explain the language that was written in. More importantly, there are a use matrix in the code. And it basically goes through all of our zones: agricultural, residential, commercial, industrial, and it has boxes with check marks. It says you can do a light manufacturing, check. Can you do a beef processing plant? No, it's a special use permit. Can you do this? Can you do that? That is the matrix we look at. We do not go to the definitions to see if those are allowed uses. The definitions are not allowed uses. This matrix on the board and the matrix in the zoning code is what allows the individual use per zone.
And that's what's allowed on this property, is any of these uses what's shown on the board, correct,
That is
Jerry?
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now Fred.
Yeah, I think the comments you just heard illustrate my point. There are no definitions for these words: sewer yard, sewage, beef processing plant, tow away or impound yards. And under hypothetical, which could become very real, if Mr. Skibout sells a lot to somebody, it's out of his control. It's out of the control of the people who live across the street. the new owner could look at the ordinance, and under M1, these uses are all permitted, including beef processing plant. And there's no definition. I mean, tonight we heard a Google definition, but who's gonna define it when the issue comes up? It should be in the ordinance, that's all we're saying. Thank you.
And just to reiterate, Mr. Mayor, and council, it's my understanding what's actually allowed is this Exhibit B. Those are the uses, correct?
That is correct. These uses are what is specifically allowed by
On the
city
parcel.
council.
So just because it's listed under a zoning definition does not mean it's allowed on the parcel, correct, Jerry?
That is correct.
So is there, besides this list, this is a comprehensive list of what is allowed on the property?
Correct. What we do in cases like this is we take, for M1, we take all the lists out of the matrix, and we go through and we strike what is we deem not allowed for conditional zoning. And then what is left is what is allowed for Mr. Skibout or the subsequent owners of any of those parcels have to abide by this. If they want to change it, they have to come back either through council amend this, and they also, any development has to go through site plan and planning and zoning commission and all this for review.
Yeah, that's the point. These are the only allowed uses on this parcel under the ordinance.
So since sewage treatment plant and salvage yard and beef processing plant aren't on that list, it means they're not allowed.
That is correct. They are allowed.
Long-term and short-term vehicle storage, that seems more detailed than impound yard. Is that one of the things that Dr. Van Wyk is concerned about, Fred?
He doesn't know what he should be concerned about because all of these uses are in fact permitted under M1, under this chart that you see right here. All of these uses are permitted. And I fully respect Mr. Skibout. He's gonna be concerned about his neighborhood just like we are. But once he sells a lot, it's out of his control. And the new owner can do whatever the ordinance allows. And what we're saying is there's a lot of gray area in this ordinance. These specific uses that we've been discussing are expressly permitted under M1. They're not excluded. So sewer yards, sewage, dressed beef processing plants, impound yards, those are all included and permitted under this M1. And that causes
Because
concern.
it says utilities on Exhibit B.
I think what I hear what you're saying, Fred, and I think what Jerry is saying is the zoning, broadly speaking, has those terms, but then this actually has it spelled out what is allowed. And so if it's not on this list, it's not allowed. So is there something on this list specifically, Fred, that is concerning?
Yes, because if you go into each of these categories under 165.11 and look what's permitted under each of these categories, you'll find these terms. They're beyond what you see on this chart.
Gotcha.
But they're expressly stated in 165.11.
So is there a way that we can amend this conditional zoning?
Well,
Or does that start the whole process over?
doesn't start the, this is probably a legal city attorney zoning question, because it's our understanding what's allowed to actually take place is here, so it'd be tied back to the definitions of these uses here back to the zoning code. So whether some of those uses that are mentioned,
That is correct. I mean, if you look under civic uses, we'll just go down to maintenance facilities. The maintenance facility, if we look up the definition of a maintenance facility from 1976, it reads a public facility supporting maintenance, repair, vehicular, equipment servicing, material storage, or similar activities including street or sewer yards, equipment service centers, and similar uses having characteristics of a commercial, contracting, or industrial activity. That's the definition of a maintenance facility. So if somebody came in and would be looking at, this is what we would look at. But again, there's a multitude of other approval processes that have to go. And again, maintenance facility is a public facility. That means the city of Pella would be putting that there. So that kind of eliminates the, I think we'd be a little more cautious where we'd be putting our next sewer treatment plant and not in an area like that. But, that's how it goes down. So these are the uses. Then we would jump to an older definition and go back and look at it through the staff response and the Planning and Zoning Commission. But you also have to remember that these codes that you're seeing right here will be no longer in effect in about 15 months.
And this is a second reading, but this is a legal question, I think, as far as the definitions and whether some of them. But the intent was, when we originally went through, is the conditional uses on here, so.
Yeah, I mean, when we conditionally zone a property, we take the matrix out of the zoning code, which is what you see here, and we strike those. We don't go within those codes or within maintenance facility and then strike out of the definitions. The definition is not an allowance. The definition gives an example of a potential use. That potential use is not guaranteed in the code, but it's guaranteed, can be asked upon with staff and city administration and planning and zoning and or council approval. So there's a multitude of steps. One individual just must not come in and build this on a property without going through the appropriate approval process.
So the words I've heard being bandied about are beef processing plant and sewer yard, which neither of those are on this list. So are they eliminated by that?
Well,
Even though the actual zoning code has them on there, they're not on this list. So being this is a conditionally zoned and they're not on this list, then they can't be put there?
you have, this is the allowed list. Sewer yards are under maintenance facilities. A maintenance facility is an allowed use, but the sewer yard in reference is a publicly owned facility. So it's something the city would do. That is a definition in the code of what a maintenance facility could be, a public works yard. So it gives examples, because maintenance facility in itself, by just those words alone, could be a multitude of things. The definition help guide. They are not an end-all, but they help guide staff in the city in determining what uses can actually be in these zones. So again, we could not potentially write definitions of everything a maintenance facility could be in the zoning code. It would be page after page after page, and they would change monthly, yearly. So we put just a general description of what they could be, and again, these were from 1976. Wouldn't be the same if we wrote them today, and we just used it as a guide. It's not an end-all be-all.
I would also add one of Dr. Van Wyck's concerns is the vehicle storage, short and long term. That hasn't been brought up a ton, but
Yeah, that would be a permitted use, and I beg to differ with some of the other comments that have been made. When this list identifies light industry, if you read the light industry subsection, it expressly authorizes dressed beef processing plants. I don't think the owner would need permission from anybody other than approval of a site plan, but the use is permitted. I don't think there's anything in there that requires a special use permit, approval by the Board of Adjustment, or anything of that nature. Dressed beef processing plant will be permitted by law under light industry in this zoning ordinance.
It's permitted through the approval process of the Planning and Zoning Commission, through a site plan. And it would be a butcher shop. I also would like to highly remind everybody that this is light industrial. Any activity in a light industrial zone must be inclusive of the building. Nothing can be outside other than the parking lot and where people walk to and fro. Anything to do, any of the businesses on this under light industrial have to be inclusive of the building, including storage. So there's nothing, if you drive by it, you can't see anything going on.
So for instance, a vehicle storage facility would have to be vehicles stored inside.
Right, we have self-storage like Red Rock.
Bruce Skibout, 762 18th Place. Mandy, could you go back to the final plat, the map, please? If you look, lot 1, lot 2, and lot 3, here that way, has quite a restrictive covenant on, by Walmart, which I think would alleviate a lot of the concerns that Mr. Van White has. His property, his home is like right in here. So, and this is just all alfalfa or hayfield that he has. I would have a similar concern what he puts in there. But I guess, like I stated last time we were here, I have second generation and now third generation is involved in this business and the property. And we can certainly, before we would sell anything, because we have a vested interest, we would want to know exactly what they're putting in. And beyond that, the covenant that Walmart has in there, I think, I understand and I appreciate Dr. White's concern, but I think it's a little bit beyond what he really should be concerned about at this time. Just my thoughts.
Okay, Bruce, could you elaborate at all on the Walmart covenants?
A lot of what they had was that there was no conflicting business go in there that would conflict with what Walmart had, and also the Snoopy Winkle around. It was significant. I'd be happy to share that, and I've shared it with Doc and with Fred. So I'm, that close in, I really don't give credence to his concern. We want the same thing. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor that's been seconded. We've had our discussion, so anything else from the council? All right, so we'll vote on the motion to approve the ordinance. All in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Reindeerhorst,
Yes.
DeYoung,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Carlstone,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Move to set aside the rules and place on third and final reading.
Support.
Branderhorst, support by Van Strylen for, to set aside the third reading. Motion for that. Is there any discussion on that? Okay, so we will vote on that motion to set aside the third reading of this ordinance. So all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Reindeerhorst,
Yes.
Van Strylen,
Yes.
DeYoung,
No.
Butler,
Yes.
Carlstone,
No.
Hopkins.
No. All right, that motion fails. Let's see. Okay, I gotta get my bearings back. So where we're at. Okay, here we are. Okay, moving on to ordinance number 1050, entitled an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the City of Pella, Iowa by conditionally amending the boundaries of the R2 district to include the property generally located at 906 Independence Street, and directing the zoning administrator to note the ordinance number and date of this change on the official zoning map, and this is a second reading. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this application or this request this evening comes to us from the Pella Reservation Trust, and specifically is for the 966 Independence, commonly referred to as the Prince House. Now, the request that we're receiving, and are considering this evening, is to change the zoning from institutional zoning to two-family R2 zoning. This ordinance actually restricts the use to, it's actually a conditional rezoning, because under the R2, which is two-family homes, this ordinance actually restricts the use to only a single-family home on the property as well. Now, as far as the city's comprehensive plan and zoning code, when the comprehensive plan was developed, it was developed when Central College owned the property, and the future use was identified as institutional. When you look at the actual zoning code, and you consider that R2 is in close proximity, which would be the yellow area that we have right here, and here's the zoning property, the property in question this evening. With that, since there's R2 in here, the conditional rezoning, staff believes that this request does conform with the city's comprehensive plan, and we are recommending approval this evening. It's important to note that the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously approved this request at their August 26th meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support. Horst DeYoung, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Motion passed. Okay, moving on to abstract of bills number 2160. Can I get a motion for approval?
Move to approve and issue warrants.
Horst Hopkins, any discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yeah.
Motion passed. Any council member have any other business you'd like to have addressed this evening?
I do, and Denny, don't leave yet. I got a really great text message from a resident on Union Street who did her first load of laundry in 6 years without backup into her basement. So I want to thank Denny and his crew. You did a phenomenal job, and you have a street of very happy people right now, and a very happy councilwoman. Thank you. Thank
Glad we
you.
could help.
Yep.
That compliment comes after our contractor actually flooded their basement.
But they
Which
said
shouldn't happen.
you, in your defense, she said that you handled the entire matter magnificently. So, from start to finish, very impressive. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, any member of the public have any other business you'd like to have council address this evening? If so, please step to the microphone, state your name and address, and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Hopkins.
Support.
Vanderhorst. All in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yeah.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
DeYoung.
Yes. Motion passed. We are adjourned.